Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. It is Tuesday, January the 10th. Ian Cameron with you as we are ready to break down another Tuesday NHL card. It is a massive slate with 10 games on tap on this Tuesday night. Looking forward to breaking it down. Originally, Matthew Wright, who has been on the show, was on the show just a week or two ago and did a great job. He was expected to be joining me today, but last minute had to pull out, had to reschedule. He's going to be on tomorrow's show instead. This week. So Matthew Wright will be joining me tomorrow on the show. So as a result, it's another solo mission for yours truly here on the Tuesday show, which I never mind doing. It's always fun. Just you and I, basically with the viewers and the listeners breaking it down here on the NHL slate. So looking forward to breaking that down here. Once again, we got a great slate to talk about. So we're going to have Matthew Wright joining the show tomorrow. And then on Thursday, Alex will be back, and we've got a special guest that I think has the potential to be phenomenal. This guy is a beauty, just from chatting with him back and forth. He's big into football betting, a little bit into hockey betting, but you can tell he's a character. And he played in the NHL briefly, played a lot of years overseas in Europe as well. Jordan Kristanovich is going to be joining us on the show Thursday for the very first time. Talk briefly about his career. Most of it is going to be the NHL slate on Thursday. Jordan will be with us via audio only, though, because he's going to be working at the time. So he said there's no way I could get video for the Ice Guys appearance on Thursday. So it'll be audio only for him on Thursday. But we're going to be doing for the Patreon members, and this is another perk, an incentive, and a reason why you should be a Patreon Ice Guys member. We're going to be doing a bonus video segment with Jordan. We'll be recording that within the next few days, few weeks, and we will be posting that on the Patreon page. It will have video as well, and we will be talking in depth about Jordan's playing days, because he did play for the Colorado Avalanche for a handful of games back in the early 2000s. And who was on the Colorado Avalanche back then? Oh, yeah, certain guy named Joe Sakic, another certain guy named Peter Forsberg. Those names might ring a bell to you if you're a hockey fan. So we are going to obviously hear some great recollections from Jordan from those days. Obviously, some great Colorado Avalanche teams back in those days, no question about that. And just overall, some stories he's got from his career. That's going to be on the Patreon page. And we'll be recording that and posting that within the next few weeks. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. So looking forward to that. Before we get into Tuesday's card, let's briefly look back at last night, just briefly, because we know we got a lot of games to get through today on this Tuesday. We'll start with Ottawa. Very disappointing from the Ottawa Senators. You get bombed at home by Seattle. You fall behind early against Nashville, and you really never mount a comeback. You're pretty much trailing the whole game. Never felt like the Senators were in that hockey game last night, and they end up losing 3-0 at the hands of the Nashville Predators. How about the Flyers? A 4-0 shutout win against the Sabres. And Sabres have this nasty little habit of playing up and playing down to competition. It's good when they play up to the competition because they played their best hockey against Washington and Boston, Minnesota. There's just a bunch of examples this year. Pittsburgh, they played them tough earlier this year. They've gotten some great wins against some great teams, good competition, but they've also been laying eggs and having these clunkers every now and then. Remember when they were on that win streak? What was the one loss? Oh, yeah, Ottawa. Another team that's obviously had their struggles this year. And last night, Buffalo ends up losing 4-0 to the Philadelphia Flyers. We heard Torts was not happy about the game against Toronto. We played the clip from that game, obviously, yesterday with the question that nobody could make any sense of, that even Torts couldn't figure it out. But he wasn't happy about the effort against the Leafs, the defensive job, the defensive lack of it that they had against the Leafs. They certainly rebounded in that department, carried the play. Samuel Ersson was very good in net as well for the Flyers, getting his first ever NHL shutout, and the Flyers get a 4-0 win over the Sabres. Seattle, 4-0 against Montreal. Man, my heart was in my throat with that team total over. Holy fuck, man. They left it right to the last minute and finally put it away, that fourth goal that we needed for that team total to go over, to courtesy of Matty Beniers into the empty net. But 4-0 for the Seattle Kraken. Eeli Tolvanen, I've talked about his props since he's become a Kraken, essentially, and was claimed off waivers by Seattle from the Nashville Predators, and that he's got a point to prove, chip on his shoulder, incentive to play well, showing that, hey, I'm a good hockey player. I'm going to make the most of it here with this Seattle team. And certainly he's done that. He scores again last night for the Kraken and adds an assist as well on the Vince Dunn goal that made it 3-0. So 2 points for Tolvanen. Another good prop option, definitely, to keep an eye on tonight as well, because the Seattle Kraken are back in action once again and moving forward. He has been very good since joining this team, no question about that. And the LA Kings with a 6-3 win over the Edmonton Oilers last night. More issues defending for the Oilers again. Too many quality chances, too many good looks are given up by this Oilers team against the LA Kings. The over cashes for me there, and that's, what is it now? I believe 12-2 to the over this year for the Edmonton Oilers when their previous game stays under. I mean, it's just been an incredible angle that we've figured out, and we have been riding it, and it came through once again. Edmonton, like I said, they're now 12-2 to the over this year when they're coming off an under in their previous game. Again, not a great night for the defensive core once again for the Oilers. The special teams was the difference in that hockey game. I mean, the Oilers were absolutely putrid with the on the penalty kill. They give up a whopping 4 power play goals. 4 power play goals to the LA Kings last night. And if you're going to give up 4 power play goals in any hockey game, you're not going to win. 9 times out of 10. Certainly we saw that from the Oilers. Horrific on the penalty kill. Meanwhile, their own power play got completely shut down by the LA Kings last night. And yeah, that was truly the difference in the hockey game. It really was a special teams dominant game from the LA Kings. They score 4 power play goals, and they keep that vaunted Edmonton Oilers power play off the scoreboard. So really, it was special teams that made the difference for LA in the victory. I like that we saw some mean spirits, some nastiness, some intensity, some dislike, some hatred, some vitriol between the Oilers and the Kings last night. Obviously, you can tell there's a little rivalry ramping up here with these two teams. They've played each other now twice in the regular season. They're in the same division. They played each other in the playoffs last year, obviously, in the first round. And you can tell when you play each other this many times, eventually it's going to be, I don't like you and you don't like me. And that's what we've got going on right now with the Oilers and the Kings. And refreshing that last night we had 3 fights in this game. 3 fights, not all of them involving tough guys or guys that normally drop the gloves. Philip Deneau doesn't normally drop the gloves. Yes, Puljujärvi doesn't normally drop the gloves. They got into a scrap. Zach Hyman is a very hard-nosed player, but he's not known for fighting all that much, and he doesn't do it very often. He dropped the gloves with Sean Durzi. Again, same thing with Durzi. Durzi doesn't fight very often. And then same thing with Kostin and with, Lemieux fights a lot, but Klim Kostin doesn't do that very often, and they drop the gloves. And what I like about the 3 fights from that game last night is it wasn't, someone hit someone and I got to run in there and drop my gloves and pound the guy's face in because he hit my teammate. It was none of that shit, which I don't like. I don't like people going after someone and fighting them just because they lay them out clean and it's a clean hit. I don't like that. This was all spontaneous stuff last night. This was just, I'm sick of you. You're sick of me. I don't like you. We've got a hatred building up. We got a little rivalry budding here with the Oilers and the Kings. And there was spontaneous dropping of the gloves last night in that hockey game. That's definitely what I liked about the situations revolving around those 3 fights, those 3 scraps we saw between the Edmonton Oilers and the LA Kings last night. Very intense hockey game. Good to see it. And the LA Kings get the victory 6-3 over the Edmonton Oilers. All right, let's get into Tuesday's card. We've got a massive one, 10 games, and we will start with the Seattle Kraken taking on the Buffalo Sabres. Both teams on the second night of back-to-back games. Both of them were in action last night, so there's really no real advantage with that either way. We've got, other than Buffalo, is obviously still at home, so it's a second straight home game for them. Seattle does have to travel a little bit from Montreal to Buffalo. But we've got Buffalo here, minus 115, slight home favorite, 6.5 the total, shaded to the over in this game. When you look at this matchup here, this is a spot that screams Buffalo. It really does. And as much as, the Seattle Kraken have been playing great, and it's hard to step in front of the Kraken right now. They are playing great. They're scoring goals in bunches. They have been lighting up the scoreboard lately. No question about that whatsoever. This road trip of theirs so far, it started in Edmonton. They score 5. Toronto, they score 5. Ottawa, they score 8. Montreal last night, 4 goals and a 4-0 shutout win. They have been just rolling the Seattle Kraken right now. 5 straight wins as well going into this matchup here against Buffalo. Seattle, by the way, 3-0 against Buffalo since they've become a franchise here in the NHL. So it's been a series dominated by the Kraken. They've won all 3 head-to-head meetings. We have Buffalo off a 4-0 shutout loss against the Flyers. Again, a Buffalo team that's definitely not always played their best against inferior competition lately, while we've gotten their best against the better teams. That's been the recent pattern here with the Buffalo Sabres. Worth noting, back-to-back situations this year, Buffalo has been in this spot 6 times, and they are only 1-5. So they have not been very good second night of back-to-back games. Seattle 1-0 on the second night of back-to-back games. So they've only been in this spot once, and they won in that situation. Look, it screams after a shutout loss at home. You're back home the next night. The Sabres, in theory, conceptually, this is a spot where they step up and play better, and I would expect that. And they've actually done well against the West, 6-0 against the Western Conference this year in their last 6 games, the Buffalo Sabres. So it's a Buffalo spot. For that reason, I'm not betting against Buffalo, but I sure as hell am not going to fade a 5-game win streak team in Seattle, a team that's playing great hockey, a team that's been great on the road, a team that's been better in this situation on the second night of back-to-back games than the Buffalo Sabres have been. So it's a pass for me from a side perspective. Absolutely good point. It's funny, MDR, you're right. I was eyeing a first period, both teams to score in this game. I think it's a great bet because I think Buffalo comes out steaming, flying after getting shut out and, goose-egged by the Philadelphia Flyers last night, which doesn't happen to them very often. In fact, you go back and look at the Sabres results so far this season. I don't believe that prior to last night, they had been shut out in any game. No, they had not. They had been held to 1 goal in some games, but never shut out this season until last night by the Philadelphia Flyers. It is worth noting when it comes to the Sabres, 1 goal or less in the previous game. What have we seen from Buffalo? They scored 1 against Arizona, November 8th. Next game, they score 4. Game goes over the total. Ottawa, they score 1 goal. Next game goes over the total. Toronto, they only scored 2, but this game still went over the total. Score 1 goal against New Jersey in a loss. Next game, Tampa Bay, they score 5. The game goes over the total. At Pittsburgh, they score 1 goal. Next game at LA, 6-0. They score 6 goals. Game stays under, but they scored 6 goals, the Buffalo Sabres, in that game. 1 goal against Ottawa in a loss, and the most recent loss they had. And then in the next game, they score 5 against Washington, and the game goes over the total. So I've got this one going over the total. That's the way I'm playing it, 6.5 here with the Kraken and the Sabres. 2 teams that, again, I trust to find the back of the net here, really, in this one. We've seen that from the Kraken. The Kraken team total overs have been good, but I think Buffalo will get some offense here tonight as well. Kraken team on the second of back-to-back on the road with a little travel. A lot of, the road games are piling up here for the Kraken. This is actually going to be on the road for them. Their 5th game in the last 8 days, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 5th game in 8 days on the road for the Seattle Kraken. Very important to point that out. So I don't think this team may be as sharp defensively here as we've seen in some recent games, especially last night. And it's not like Montreal didn't have chances. Jones was solid in net. I think Sabres, after getting shut out, that's been a pattern for them. They score 1 goal or fewer, and in the next game, usually the offense comes to life for the Buffalo Sabres. We actually don't have goalies confirmed yet for the Sabres. Sabres are going through 3 different goalies now that are up with the big team, with the Sabres right now. They've obviously got Craig Anderson, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, UPL, and they've actually had Eric Comrie as well called up. So I think they kind of at some point now that he's back from injury want to integrate him, but it looks like it's going to be UPL. Not confirmed, but looking like it's going to be UPL here for the Seattle Kraken, because certainly they've got it confirmed right now on, or not confirmed, but Left Wing Lock has him as the likely goaltender for the game tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. And UPL's been pretty solid, but again, this is a Seattle team rolling right now offensively. As far as props go, in addition to liking over the total in this game, I mentioned Eeli Tolvanen, Beniers, Sprong. They're the ones that are really undervalued right now for the Kraken. Beniers, not Beniers so much, but Sprong and Tolvanen in particular, they both contributed last night for the Seattle Kraken in that game. I mean, what can you say right now, too, about on the blue line? We've talked about how great Thompson has been. Tuck, Skinner, that line for the Sabres. They've gotten contributions from Cousins, Quinn, Peterka, some of their good young forwards as well on the Sabres. But what Rasmus Dahlin's doing on the blue line this year, it's been special. I mean, 12 goals, 32 assists, 44 points already for Rasmus Dahlin in 37 games from the blue line. More than a point per game player this season for the Buffalo Sabres on the blue line. So definitely his props continue to be worth a look right now. Definitely one of those games where with both of these teams, right, with the way they're scoring, prior to last night, Buffalo was scoring. I expect them to get their offensive game re-engaged tonight. It's worth it to sprinkle across multiple players because there's been so many players getting in on the act for both teams offensively, Buffalo and also similarly Seattle. And especially, like I said, Tolvanen and Sprong goes without saying. They're my favorite. Undervalued, under the radar props. Of course, Beniers has been good. Wenberg's been good too. But I think Sprong and Tolvanen right now really got it going for the Seattle Kraken right now. Okay, next up, we've got Vancouver and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh minus 190, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. We've got the Penguins returning home off a road trip. This is a really dicey spot for Pittsburgh because they were on the road for a very long time out west. They went through, the road trip started for them in Boston. Then they went to Vegas. Then they went to Zona. And now they're back home. Actually, they were on the road for essentially a week since including the Winter Classic last week against the Boston Bruins. So they're back home. They finally snapped the 6-game losing streak with a very solid, workmanlike, businesslike 4-1 road victory over the Arizona Coyotes. And they'll be looking to build on that here tonight against the Vancouver Canucks in this game. Canucks, can't withstand prosperity. There's been so many instances where they win a game and they can't build on it. They have that 4-2 win against Colorado, and then they get whacked and ambushed by the Vancouver Canucks, by the Winnipeg Jets, rather, 7-4. Not a very pretty performance defensively. Colin Delia got pulled in that game and ended up Spencer Martin finishing it for the Vancouver Canucks. Casey DeSmith confirmed in net here for the Penguins in this one. He got the win, obviously, against Arizona. So Mike Sullivan going on a hunch here that, hey, the guy, snapped our losing. And plus, they have no choice. Tristan Jarry is out. So they got to roll with Casey DeSmith for now. Although, Tristan Jarry looks like he's closing in on a return from the lower body injury, skating once again with the team. So we'll see if he's able to return maybe later in the week for the Penguins. As far as Vancouver goes, Spencer Martin projected to be in net. We'll see if that is indeed the confirmation prior to puck drop. Oddly enough, this is a series history that's been very under-heavy between these two teams. In fact, 6-1 to the under in the last 7 head-to-head meetings between the Canucks and the Penguins. Although in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh has won the last 2 meetings at home against the Vancouver Canucks, 8-6 in a wild, crazy one a couple years ago, and then a 4-1 win last season against the Vancouver Canucks. Earlier this year, Vancouver actually beat Pittsburgh by a score of 5-1 back on October the 28th. I think that was a tricky spot for Pittsburgh, too. They were in a bad scheduling spot and during a long road trip, if I'm not mistaken, with that 5-1 loss to the Vancouver Canucks in that game. So they're in a better situation here. We'll see how this one goes. Don't have a strong feel for this game either way. I mean, Pittsburgh, we'll see. Pittsburgh, keep in mind, they're back home off the road trip. That's never a great bet on spot. and they actually made a pit stop in Montreal following the game in Arizona. It was a wonderful gesture for this team to do this. It shows you how much they think of him. Chris Letang, that is. They're great veteran defensemen that in a time of great sorrow, great pain, great anguish, obviously losing your father, and they apparently went to Montreal to be there for their teammate, attend the funeral of Chris Letang's father. I mean, just an absolutely terrific show of support, for a guy that's been obviously with the Pittsburgh Penguins for a long period of time. No question about that. So how does it go? I mean, you've basically been through the ringer physically on this road trip, mentally, emotionally. I'm sure, being there for Letang, took a lot of emotion out of them too. What do they have here in this spot? This is one of those games you just actually sit back, you watch, you see how it unfolds, you see how it starts. Because I could see Pittsburgh totally laying an egg tonight, and Vancouver's live in this game, or Pittsburgh is just, they're bolstered by getting that big win, snapping the losing streak against Arizona. Play hard, play with the great intensity tonight. And especially coming off the fact that Chris Letang's dad passed away, they're at the funeral, they want to support him, no question about that. And they come back home here to Pittsburgh and they bury, obviously, a very, no pun, that's a bad choice of words. My bad there. Really bad. Pittsburgh comes back home and they take care of business here against the Vancouver Canucks here, snapping that losing streak against Arizona, getting the positive vibes going again. So this is a great live betting game. If this was a betcast, it would be the ultimate live betting game. You want to see how Pittsburgh looks early in the game. Are they locked in? Are they focused? They playing well? They're playing with the puck. They're, got the forecheck going against that Vancouver defense, which stinks. Anybody that's working hard, cycling the puck and, winning their battles for loose pucks can do significant damage against Vancouver, as most teams have done all season long. So definitely a situation where, and Letang obviously not playing tonight. No question about that, Slats. He's obviously, they're going to let him process and things and, grieve over the loss of his dad. And I'm sure they'll allow him to join the team whenever he's ready. So this is right now, it's going to be a pass for me, honestly, Vink. And I don't do that very often, as you know, but it's going to be one of those games where I'm going to wait it out and we're going to see how things unfold early in the game. Let's see how Pittsburgh looks. If Pittsburgh's on their toes and ready and taking the play to Vancouver, I might jump on a live first period puck line with the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's my strategy when it comes to this game tonight. All right, next up, we've got New Jersey and Carolina. Carolina minus 145, home favorite, 6 the total in this game. So Carolina's in one of those weird zones right now where their play has not fallen. Okay, it really hasn't. The loss to the Rangers, I don't think it was one of their better defensive games. They gave up 30 shots. I thought the Rangers did outplay them in that game where that 11-game win streak for Carolina got snapped. The 2 games after that against Nashville and Columbus, they lose both of those. So this is now a 3-game losing streak for Carolina. Let's not act like they played horrible in those 2 games. I mean, it looks bad, right? You lose at home to Nashville, and even worse, you lose to Columbus 4-3 in a shootout. But they outshot those 2 teams by a combined 109-42. I mean, it's the puck just wasn't going in for the Carolina Hurricanes. They had opportunities, they had chances, carried the play for the majority of those games against Nashville and Columbus, and just didn't have anything to show for it going into that. They probably deserved wins in those 2 games, but you don't always get what you deserve in hockey, especially a sport where you can outshoot, outplay, dominate the opponent, carry the play, and not get the victory to go with it. So, it's going to be interesting to see now how Carolina responds. This is, a little adversity. Again, you haven't played terrible. You probably deserve to beat Nashville. You probably deserve to beat Columbus, and you just didn't. So we'll see how they fare here in this one. New Jersey, I'll tell you what, they're very good on the road. They're 14-3 on the road. We're looking for signs of life from this team. And, they're starting to come out of the doldrums a little bit. That was a great, resilient showing by the Devils Saturday afternoon against the Rangers. They got behind 2-0. They make it 2-1. Rangers go ahead 3-1. And then in the third period, I thought the Devils really were just that, put their head down and say, we're not losing this game. We're coming back and we're winning. I like the resolve That's good for a team where you think maybe a little mentally fragile right now during this really tough stretch that they've had over the last month. I think definitely New Jersey gets, a little bit of a boost from coming back, beating the Rangers the way they did, 4-3 in overtime. I haven't pulled the trigger on this game yet. I'm leaning to the Devils. I am here as a road underdog in this game at plus 120. We'll have to see who's in net for the Hurricanes. It looks like Stefan Nason's the one key injury for Carolina right now. And he's played well for them. He's got a lower body injury, and he's a game-time decision right now for the New Jersey Devils, for the Carolina Hurricanes. Palat, of course, has come back in the lineup for the Devils the last couple of games. Hasn't had a point yet, but looked a little bit better. Again, he hadn't played since October. He had a groin injury. So it's going to take him probably a few games to get going here a little bit. But right now, Carolina minus 140 here. And New Jersey, if you look at the series history, Carolina's won 5 straight, but 5-4 in a shootout. I was on Carolina in that game just 9 days ago in New Jersey, and Carolina kept scoring and New Jersey kept answering, and it ended up being a 5-4 shootout win there for the Hurricanes. Again, I haven't decided yet what I'm doing here, but I do lean a little to New Jersey at plus 125. Again, I'm waiting to see goalie confirmations here in this one before going ahead with a wager in it. Carolina is just in one of those zones right now. Puck's not going in. Puck luck will turn eventually. Will it turn tonight's the question. Vanacek expected to be the starting goalie tonight for the Devils, not confirmed. It should be the young kid, Pyotr Kochetkov here for the Hurricanes, who suddenly the last 2 games come back down to earth a little bit here for Carolina. He gave up 4 goals against the Rangers in a loss, and then he gave up another 4 goals against the Nashville Predators in a loss. So Devils is the lean for me right now, plus 125. I mean, and plus they were right there with Carolina when they played them 9 days ago, and New Jersey was still in horrible form back then. They got a little confidence now. Yeah, Jack Hughes anytime goal, as Terry in our chat says. I mean, you could say that's a good bet every game and not look like a total idiot right now. I mean, he's just been ridiculous, Jack Hughes, what he's doing. And don't count him out of the Rocket Richard race either. He could still get himself into that mix. 26 goals now, 49 points for Hughes in 40 games. Just been fantastic. Look at what he's done just the last 5 games alone. He has a whopping 8 goals and it looks like 2, 4, 6, 9, 10 points in the last 5 games. 8 goals, 10 points in the last 5 games here for Jack Hughes. So he's just been terrific for the Devils. And again, I'm not going to say to anybody, goal prop, point props for him right now. Don't bet him because definitely Jack Hughes has been just carrying things literally here for the Devils this season. All right, Minnesota Wild, New York Rangers. We've got the Rangers minus 140, home favorites here, 6 being the total, shaded to the under in this game. New York Rangers, again, they've been off since that aforementioned game against the New Jersey Devils. Tough one to lose for them. They were up 3-1, third period. Devils tie it, and then they win in overtime 4-3 over the Rangers. Now they will be returning home to Madison Square Garden, looking to bounce back here following that 4-3 loss to the Devils. Minnesota in bounce-back mode as well. They've lost 2 straight back-to-back games over the weekend. That crazy, wild, no pun intended, crazy, exciting game between the Wild and the Sabres on Saturday night, 6-5. It ended up being for the Minnesota or for the Buffalo Sabres in that game. Back and forth it went. And then a 3-0 shutout loss to the St. Louis Blues. Although, Thomas Greiss was really good. I mean, Minnesota, especially in the third period when they were down 1-0, they poured it on big time in that game for the Minnesota Wild. So, and Thomas Greiss stood tall, and the Blues still ended up getting the victory, and they ended up winning 3-0. So, no question. You look at this game here against the New York Rangers. Certainly the Wild, they'd want to snap the losing streak. No question about that. It's one of those games where you got 2 teams that have been, for the most part, pretty good recently. They've had a few, hiccups here and there. Minnesota's lost 2 in a row. The Rangers were red hot, but now that suddenly they're only 3-3 in their last 6 games, 500 hockey during that stretch. You'd expect both teams to play pretty well here tonight, both off losses. It is worth noting, Minnesota got hammered by the Rangers back on October the 13th, 7-3 in that game. Game ended up flying over the total. And, you look at it from a Marc-Andre Fleury standpoint, he gave up 7 goals in that game against the Rangers. It was ugly for him. Remember, early in the season, very early in the season, we're talking like the first week or two of the regular season, and Marc-Andre Fleury and that whole Minnesota team defensively was a mess. They were definitely not playing well in their own zone. They weren't getting saves from Fleury at that time. No question about that. What's Fleury going to be like tonight? He's back from his personal leave. He was lit up by Buffalo. He stormed off the ice. Apparently, he had a little bit of a spaz session in the dressing room after that loss to the Sabres Saturday night. That's the last time we saw him, obviously, in net. How does he bounce back from that? He's a resilient guy. That's the one thing you got to give Fleury, is that usually, I trust him to actually be pretty good tonight, honestly. For a guy that's had his ups and downs, like, his numbers are okay. They're not great. 2.94 goals against, 901 save percentage on the season. But, usually in these times of strife for Marc-Andre Fleury, and then he comes back from whatever he's dealing with, injury, whatever the case may be, oftentimes he's got the right mental attitude, that he's not rattled. He's got a chance to come back and be strong here for the Minnesota Wild tonight in this game. We'll see if he's able to be that for them. We think it'll be Igor Shesterkin in net. I have no reason to doubt that, but it hasn't been confirmed on the Rangers side. It only has been confirmed on the Minnesota side that Marc-Andre Fleury will be in net for them tonight. But I'm going to take a shot with the Wild here. Plus 120, plus 125 in this game. That's the bottom line. You lose 7-3 to a team at home. You don't forget that. You really don't. And I would expect the Wild to bring something pretty solid here to the ice. And for Minnesota, we've talked about how, especially last year, the road record wasn't necessarily spectacular by any stretch of the imagination. But, you look at the Minnesota Wild, they did win in their last trip to Madison Square Garden last year, 3-2. They defeated the New York Rangers here at Madison Square Garden. The game before that, in Madison Square Garden, was the Rangers winning 3-2, but again in overtime. So Minnesota's played pretty tough here the last 2 times they've been in New York. So and again, this is a price thing for me too. I thought the Rangers should have been minus 125, minus 130 in this game. Considering you look at the Wild, even before the last 2 losses, they were playing some really good hockey. They beat Tampa Bay, they beat St. Louis, had some good wins on their resume. They beat Winnipeg, who are playing really good hockey this season. Some really good wins from the Wild. I didn't think the Rangers should be this high, now that it's up to minus 140, minus 145 here in this game. So I do like the Wild plus 120 in this game. And I'm going to take a smaller bet on the over here. It's 6. The series history's gone over 3 of the last 4 head-to-head meetings between these two teams. I like usually overs in games where a team has been shut out in the previous game, and obviously we saw that with Minnesota losing to St. Louis. Oftentimes when a team gets shut out, I either look for them to win or bounce back, especially if they're a pretty good team. They're not a bottom feeder. I expect them to be better the next game. I'm looking at Minnesota's results here off a shutout loss this year. They got shut out by Seattle, and then actually they got shut out again by LA. But then after the LA shutout loss, they beat Anaheim when they were shut out there. That's the only time they've suffered. 2 times they've suffered a shutout loss this season. But I like the price here we're getting with Minnesota, plus 120 or so with the Wild here. Slight road underdogs, smaller lean toward the over, smaller bet, I should say, toward the over here as well between these 2 teams tonight. All right, Columbus and Tampa Bay. We've got Tampa Bay minus 435 to minus 440, even minus 450 in some spots here. Just gigantic home favorites. 6 being the total here across the board in this game. I mean, good luck trying to get value out of this game if you like the Lightning. And unfortunately, Columbus has been right in every game lately. When you look at the way they played the last 2 games, they beat Carolina in the shootout on Saturday at home. 1-0 against Washington. They actually outplayed and outshot and outchanced the Capitals in that 1-0 loss. So you're seeing bigger signs of being a little more competitive here in this game, which might have you think Columbus can hang around. But I'll tell you what, I don't know. I honestly don't know if I want any part of going against the Lightning after what I've seen from them here in the last 2 games. 5-1 loss to Minnesota, 4-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets after that on Tuesday or on Friday night. And I'll tell you what, John Cooper's usually very measured, very, calm, cool, collected, composed, all of those C words, cool cat, doesn't usually let shit bother him. Usually doesn't let any one performance in a game from his team bother him. But he was agitated, no question about it, after what happened on Friday night in the game against the Winnipeg Jets. And he was irritated and angry with his team for lack of discipline, lack of composure, giving Winnipeg multiple 5-on-3 power plays in that game, which they took advantage of against the Lightning. And really, it was a special teams dominant win for the Jets. I mean, at 5-on-5, the Lightning weren't terrible, but they just couldn't stay out of the penalty box. And yeah, Cooper was not good. And I'm going to play the clip here because I remember I retweeted it on Twitter. It's worth showing it here, playing it here. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the video, and if you're listening on the podcast, you'll still be. Here's what John Cooper said after the Winnipeg game on Friday night. Like I said, he was not very happy. So here we go. We'll just cue it up here. Let me just make sure we share screen. Okay, here we go. Let's go. All right, there we go. This is the one right here, I believe. Here we go. All right, this is John Cooper from after the Jets game on Friday night.
It's a complete lack of discipline. It was embarrassing what we did. How many 5-on-3s you're up against in one season? You count on maybe one hand, and we give them like 2.5 5-on-3s in one game. Unacceptable. That shouldn't happen. And good on Winnipeg. Honestly, it was really nothing game going on. That game could have been 0-0 and a shootout. And they stayed disciplined. Just said, sit back and wait for Tampa to screw it up, and they did. That's what happened.
How do you flip that? How do you become more disciplined?
That's his coach is going to have to turn that around.
Were you expecting a game to be that intense?
Honestly, I didn't find that game intense at all. It was, like I said, tell me what happened in the game other than us taking penalties and giving them opportunities. I mean, there wasn't a 5-on-5 goal that they scored. It was 4-on-4, 4-on-6, and 5-on-3s. That's, to me, that was sorry. That's on us.
You don't play again until Tuesday. What do you hope that bit of a break might do?
Oh, I don't know. This hopefully this one hurts a little bit. I get the last one, late night travel back to back, and it was but this one, this shouldn't happen.
There you go. Not very happy there was John Cooper following that debacle in his eyes. A debacle in terms of taking too many penalties, lacking discipline, and you give any team that many power play opportunities, including multiple 5-on-3s, and obviously not very happy is John Cooper after a game like that. So again, they've been off since that Friday night game where John Cooper kind of went off about the lack of discipline from his team after that Winnipeg game. So this is going to be their first game since then. So that's why I point this out. I pointed it out because, yes, Columbus competitive over the weekend, very competitive. I mean, they beat Carolina, a good team, and another pretty solid team in Washington. They lost by a goal, and they outplayed Washington for the majority of that game. I still would not want to be in Tampa Bay's way here tonight in this game. In fact, if you look at this game from I'm going to take them in the first period on the puck line here. We don't normally see minus 110, on a first period puck line, but that's what we get here tonight with the Tampa Bay Lightning here in this game. I think early in the game, they're ready. They're rested. They're certainly rested. They haven't played since Friday. They should be flying out of the gate here and ready to, jump on this Columbus team. I think that's a good way to play it. Minus a half, even money, minus 110. First period puck line here on the Tampa Bay Lightning. That I like. That I will bet. And beyond that, team total again, though, and that's always the frustrating part is when you got these massive favorites and obviously you get 4.5 totals. instead of 3.5. So again, if you're going to play the team total, I suggest, maybe BetMGM is always the book I would suggest for team totals for NHL games, especially because they are the one book that will offer half goal increments. It's not 1.5, it's not 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. They'll give you 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. They'll give you half goal increments for team totals, which I think is fantastic because then you could bet over 4 minus 125 on Tampa Bay's team total here. And be able to get the job done. The problem is, too, with the team total route tonight, I could see them, getting an early lead, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and then they look to shut it down, and maybe they don't get to 4 goals necessarily, or 5 for that matter. But, yeah, Tampa Bay first period puck line, it's just figuring out how you want to go about it, in a game like that. There's just so many different ways you can, peel the layers on a game like this, essentially. And, first period puck line, I think, is about as good as you could do in this game. If you want to get a little creative, like minus 1.5 is minus 160. Do they really stomp Columbus tonight? After that back-to-back losses to end the road trip against Minnesota and Winnipeg, the Winnipeg one leaving their head coach very angry, very upset. Do you go minus 2.5 plus 110? Do you take it one step further, minus 3.5 plus 265? Couple alternative puck line looks on the Tampa Bay Lightning, that they're not screwing around tonight, that they mean business, that the coach isn't happy, and that all of a sudden here they just pummel this Columbus team into submission tonight. It's not a bad consideration if you're looking for extra value. Some of those alternative puck line shots tonight on the Tampa Bay Lightning, minus 2.5, minus 3.5. The minus 2.5 is plus 110. The minus 3.5, if you think they can win by 4 goals or more, if you really want to get a little creative and gutsy, that one is plus 265. So those are some options. And by the way, I should point out, too, with Tampa Bay, they have won 7 of the last 8 head-to-head meetings against Columbus, 7-1 in the last 8 head-to-head meetings. The victories were, I'm just looking to see, the last few, actually, if you look at the last 4 Tampa Bay wins against Columbus, the last 4 Tampa Bay wins against Columbus were 7-2, 4-1, 5-2, and 4-1. So in all 4 Tampa Bay victories, they've won 4 of the last 5 against Columbus. All 4 Tampa Bay victories, they scored at least 4 goals, and they won by at least 3 goals in all 4 games. 4-1, 5-2, 4-1, 7-2. So all 4 of those wins came by at least 3 goals. So I think what I might do is a Tampa minus a half, minus 110 first period. And I think I might get involved with a little minus 2.5 here at plus 110. Again, you get a plus price with it. Each of the last 4 wins for Tampa Bay versus Columbus were by 3 goals or more. Not a bad option. And again, they should be, this should be full 60 minutes of focus, effort. Stay out of the damn penalty box, as their head coach is imploring them to do. Feel the sting of 2 losses in a row. So, again, I'm going to go with that because, again, Columbus, you look at the last 2 games, great job competing. But let's also not forget, they're beaten up to shit, this team still. I mean, credit to them beating Carolina. They got heavily outshot. Keep that in mind. Now, they did outshoot Washington and probably deserved a better fate than losing 1-0. And the goaltending was good. Believe Merzlikins actually was very good. That was one of his best games in a long time against Washington on Sunday. But can he do it again here against a very angry, potentially ornery, angry Tampa team? We'll have to wait and see. His numbers are still awful on the season for Elvis Merzlikins. There's still Gavrikov on the blue line is out. Bean, Blankenberg, and Werenski are still out. So 4 starting defensemen are gone. Voracek IR, Boone Jenner, the captain, IR, Justin Danforth on IR, Igor Shinnikov on IR. It's still a very, very ravaged team. Let's not forget that here with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So definitely Tampa first period puck line, Tampa minus 2.5, plus 110, the alternative puck line. Even Tampa, first period team total, as MDR suggests, is, again, from a value shot standpoint, to really come out and just, put it to Tampa early, or put it to Columbus, I should say, early. And be ready to play. Don't give this team power plays. And because let's be honest, actually, that's how they scored their goals against Carolina when they beat when they beat the Hurricanes on Saturday at home. When Columbus beat Carolina at home, the power play was lighting it up. It's not that they did a whole lot 5-on-5 even strength. I mean, Marchenko had the hat trick for Columbus in that game. And I think all of the goals, at least 2 of them, were on the power play. Well, if Tampa Bay is going to listen to their coach and not take penalties, not have a lack of discipline, be responsible, which they weren't, obviously, against Winnipeg. It's why Cooper was so angry. Then you don't expect Columbus to get those power play opportunities, which is where they made their hay against Carolina when they beat the Hurricanes in that big upset on Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, Tampa Bay first period puck line, Tampa Bay -2.5. And I even think that first period total, I see +170 for a Tampa Bay Lightning first period team total over 1.5. Again, Tampa Bay Lightning first period team total over 1.5 +170. I think that might be worth a sprinkle here. I don't normally go that route very often, especially with bigger favorites, but it's just got everything you're reading and sensing from the Lightning is no screwing around tonight. Business attitude, start to finish. Speaking of business attitude, that's the attitude we try to have here on the Ice Guys show, breaking down every single game. We have gotten through the first half of this Tuesday card. We will be back with the second half of the card right after we hear from Gramco.
All right, whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products such as vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you, and is also available at many American retailers as well. Get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. If you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, you get 25% off of any order, and all orders on the site that are $50 and higher are shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right, we are back here on the Ice Guys, and we are ready to keep on rolling here. Winnipeg and Detroit as we begin the second half of this Big 10-game Tuesday card. Jets and Red Wings. Jets -135, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Jets, terrific run it's been for them, 26-14, one of the top teams in the West and the NHL. Just a remarkably great season so far for Rick Bowness, his first season as head coach of the Winnipeg Jets. And look, this team has been impressive. They're getting healthier too. I mean, that's the scary part. Think about how well the Jets have played this season with so many key personnel out of the lineup. It was for a while they were without Nikolai Ehlers. They missed Blake Wheeler for a long period of time. Nate Schmidt, one of their better blue liners, was out for a long period of time. And now all of a sudden they've got all of those guys back and they're playing some exceptional hockey. They've won 5 in a row, 5 straight wins coming into tonight. 4 of them at home against Vancouver, Calgary, Tampa Bay, which is obviously very impressive when you beat them. 7-4 against Vancouver. They did lose one. Actually, they beat Edmonton in Edmonton 2-1. Their last loss was right after the Christmas break, 4-1 at home against the Minnesota Wild. So they played excellent hockey. They go on the road now. It is worth noting the Jets are 16-6 at home. Terrific home record. 10-8 on the road, which is still pretty good for a road record, but it's not, nearly as they're not nearly as lights out, if you will, the Winnipeg Jets away from home. You got this struggling Detroit Red Wings team now coming, trying to bounce back after 3 straight losses. Lost to New Jersey 5-1, 3-2 to Florida, 4-1 to Toronto on Saturday night. So it's been definitely a struggle here for the Red Wings as they try to get their game back on track. Billy Husso will be in net for the Red Wings tonight. Once again, Connor Hellebuck gets the nod for the Winnipeg Jets in this game. Big news, though, for the Red Wings is that Tyler Bertuzzi is back tonight for the Red Wings, and not a moment too soon. I mean, you're talking about a top-line caliber player, certainly top 6 forward, caliber player. He's been out since November the 30th, so basically over a month since we've seen him. He was skating on the top line with Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond. He'll be back on the top power play unit. It's a big, big boost for a team that, suddenly in the last few games, goals have been hard to come by during this losing streak for the Red Wings. 4 goals scored in the last 3 games combined in these 3 losses against the Devils, the Panthers, and the Leafs. So there's no question getting Tyler Bertuzzi back going to help this team offensively, going to play in all key situations. We'll see if he can make an impact here tonight for the Detroit Red Wings against the Winnipeg Jets. Worth noting here, Detroit has actually beaten the Jets 2 of the last 3 head-to-head meetings. And last year, it was the Jets winning in Detroit, but then Detroit winning in Winnipeg. So the road team won each meeting last year between these 2 teams. Jets have been trending under on the road, worth noting, 6-0 to the under in their last 6 road games. The under is cashed in 5 of the last 6 meetings between these 2 teams. Sometimes it's okay to pass on a game, and this is another one where not a strong opinion for me. It feels like I would only take the Jets. I would only take the Jets. They're better than Detroit right now, although the Red Wings are, getting Bertuzzi back. They've been plucky at home at times this season. They've been a little bit better at home than they've been on the road, whereas Winnipeg's been a little bit worse on the road than they've been at home. And it's been, pretty close competitive games the last 3 head-to-heads. And just from a Jets standpoint, you have a great homestand there where you win 4 straight home games. Now you go on the road and you play in Detroit, and you got bigger games coming up at Buffalo on Friday night, or on Thursday night rather, and then at Pittsburgh on Friday night. You got bigger games on deck. It's not that utmost, I trust this team to be razor sharp and focused tonight kind of thing for the Jets tonight. So that, plus you're laying $1.35 on the road, and I'm never really loving laying that kind of moderate price, -135 or more on the road, unless I have a damn good reason to. So like I say, I lean Winnipeg for sure. I don't want to step in front of this team. They're playing that well right now. And again, getting healthier, getting everybody back. But it just feels like it's got one of those, in the pit of your stomach, one of those spots where you worry about whether this team's going to have their absolute A game tonight necessarily. And when you look at the lineup, but when you look at this game, it's going to be more of a game that I probably look at a few props more than, like I say, interested in the side or the total necessarily. For the Red Wings, I'm telling you what, Jonathan Berggren, this kid that's only 22 years old, they've put him up the lineup, and he's now got 4 points in the last 6 games for the Red Wings. He scored twice during that span. Keep your eye on him, making more of an impact for the Red Wings. Robbie Fabry scored against Florida. Missed the game against the Leafs, but we'll see if the reason he didn't play against Toronto was it was back-to-back. He's recovering from that knee injury, and they didn't want to. They want to manage that early in the year. They don't want him playing back-to-back games. So no question about that. Keep that in mind. For the Winnipeg Jets, certainly, Kyle Connor is a man possessed. Can't stop him right now for the Jets. So every night it seems like he's worth a look in terms of props. I mean, this has just been insanity from Kyle Connor. What has he got? In the last 6 games, this guy has 11 points. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. 5 goals as well in the last 6 games for Kyle Connor. He's been magnificent. Don't look now, but Ehlers needed a game to get under his belt, maybe to get back in the flow, and he got back in the flow against Vancouver. 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. And yes, it goes without saying, Josh Morrissey, all-star bound for the first time in his career. Certainly from a points perspective, he's always worth a look, no question about that. So definitely more of a game that I'll be looking at some player props when it comes to Red Wings and Jets. All right, Dallas Stars, New York Islanders. Dallas -115 to -120. Road favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. We've got the Dallas Stars off a 5-1 home win against the Florida Panthers. Very, very impressive. They will be looking to keep the train rolling tonight against the New York Islanders, who are returning home off a 4-game road trip where they only went 1-3 in very disappointing fashion. So we'll see if the New York Islanders can bounce back from that. This has honestly been, for the most part, at least the last couple of years, the home teams have dominated. Islanders won 2 in a row at home. Dallas has won 3 in a row in Dallas. including earlier this year, a 5-2 win for the Dallas Stars over the New York Islanders. We'll see how they fare in this one. The Islanders have kind of limped offensively the last couple of games. 3 goals scored combined against the Alberta teams in the 2 losses to end that road trip against the Flames and the Oilers. So I think when you look at this spot here for the Islanders, it's more of a focus, especially back here on home ice. Let's get things going a little bit more at the offensive end of the ice. We got kind of shut out toward the end of that trip, and we'll see if they can turn it around here on home ice. And then you look at the Islanders and the way they've been trending from a total standpoint, particularly on home ice. They've actually been a better offensive team at home. You look at some of the recent home games they had. They put up 5 against Pittsburgh right after the Christmas break. They put up 5 against Florida. They scored 3 against the Rangers. And especially in these home games, we've seen the Islanders, obviously do a little bit better job offensively. So keep that in mind. I'm kind of trying to make a case to go over 5.5 here. That's the bottom line. You're talking about a total that's 5.5. It's the only 5.5 really that we see on the board today. And I find more often than not, these games have been kind of going over the total. I know Dallas has gone under in 3 straight games, and they're 5-1 to the under in their last 6. The Islanders are 4-1 to the under in their last 5. But head-to-head between these two teams, 3 of the last 4 have gone over. Each of the last 2 here in Long Island have gone over the total with 4-3 and 4-2 final scores in those 2 games. So I think at 5.5, I'm going to bite on over the total in this game. And keep in mind, while these 2 teams I think are more defensive-minded than offensive-minded, the Islanders have had an uptick offensively this year, especially Lane Lambert is not so stringent on the defensive end of the ice compared to Barry Trotz. And Dallas, under Peter DeBoer, they have not played that defense-first attitude as much either, quite as much, going from Rick Bowness to him, as the head coach as well. So, I think you got to look at over 5.5. And then again, you factor in that these 2 teams have gone over 3 of the last 4 times they've played each other, including 2 in a row here on the island. For me, I'm going to go 5.5 here over between the Stars and the Islanders. Again, you're talking minus 110 as well at Bet Online as far as this total goes. Ottinger and Sorokin, by the way, the confirmed goalies here in this matchup between these 2 teams. All right, Calgary and St. Louis. We've got Calgary minus 170, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Calgary losing the first game of the road trip to Chicago. Disappointing. Daryl Sutter not happy after that game either. For the let me see if we can get some. We're going to try to do this because I don't think we'll get in trouble from the YouTube moderators for it, but I believe we've got some Sutter sound as well from that loss after the Chicago game. Not thrilled was he about the performance of his team. Really called out the young players too, which is kind of weird. Not thrilled about Markstrom, his performance, and that's been Markstrom's season so far. He was just so good, against the New York Islanders. The game before that, at the end of the homestand, they won 4-1. Markstrom was, I think, one of his better games of the year, and he follows it up with probably one of his more poor games of the year, in that 4-3 loss against the Chicago Blackhawks. So, it's been frustrating to see this. No question about that from Calgary. Now, bounce back spot for sure. We'll see if they're able to do that here in this game. Here we go. Yes, we'll bring this up on the screen right now. I think we've got it. Yes, we do. Here we go. Let's get some Daryl Sutter sound right here, talking after the disappointing loss against Chicago Sunday night.
Take 1 penalty, score 2 power play goals, only give up a handful of shots, should win the game.
Why do you think you didn't?
Because they scored a goal in overtime, make it 4-3.
You make a goalie change at that point. I mean, you have a response after that, obviously.
Well, Jonathan scored right away, so I made it 3-2. But you're still it's hard to score 4 goals and win hockey games.
I got to rewind that. I got to hear that one again. It was just so funny.
Take 1 penalty, score 2 power play goals, only give up a handful of shots, should win the game.
Listen to this.
Why do you think you didn't?
Because they scored a goal in overtime, make it 4-3.
You make a goalie change at that point.
Classic Sutter.
Like the response after that, obviously.
Well, Jonathan scored right away, so I made it 3-2. But you're still it's hard to score 4 goals and win hockey games.
as this game goes along, I mean, are you happy with the way the third period goes? I mean, not find a goal, but just
You know what? We got to take the point, right? We didn't skate yesterday because the Harlem Globetrotters were playing in our building. We had to travel, and we couldn't skate this morning because 6 o'clock game. We better be thankful that we got a point, considering that a lot of our young players didn't show up. Lack of preparation. We got to take them by the hand, some of these guys.
Is that just a learning curve?
I've been in the league for 1 to 6 years, some of them. So is that just a lack of preparation?
Goalie change made to spark the team, or was it?
No, their goaltender was outplaying ours at that time. It was evident on the scoreboard. Shot clock.
It's absolutely a cantankerous group of coaches right now here in the NHL. No question about that. I mean, Cooper not happy, Sutter not happy. Torts wasn't happy after the Leaf game. You can tell the pressure's ramping up. We're into the new year now. These games are getting more important. It's more important to get 2 points every night. No question about that. So I think Calgary brings it tonight. I do. And if you bring it against St. Louis, I think you can beat them. So I'm interested in the Flames in regulation here. That's again, I've stayed away from this team for a little bit. I haven't been wronged by this team and their inconsistency. And what's frustrating too? If you look at the raw numbers, if you look at high danger chances for and against, puck possession, expected goals for and against, the Flames stats look terrific in those categories. They are a very good goals for team, expected, goals against expected. They're very good in terms of the high danger chances for and against. All of their numbers look good statistically. But again, they've had trouble finishing, turning those expected goals and those danger chances into actual goals. They've had issues with goaltending from Markstrom and consistency at times. They're actually not giving up a lot. The stats and numbers point out they're not giving up a lot, the Flames, defensively. They're not giving up quality chances like so many other teams are, but it's just that they're in that little zone right now where every little mistake they make is they're paying the price for it. It ends up in the back of their net. And all these glorious chances they get in certain games, they can't put it in. They just can't put the puck in the net. And combination of those things, and you're getting a team where statistically they look great and the record does not match it. The record does not match it. And that is what we are seeing right now from the Calgary Flames. But I think they do respond here. I'm going to play them in regulation here around plus 100, minus 110, around that price. Markstrom, too. The one thing is he got pulled in that game. He is still one of the goalies that long-term, he's been a good bounce-back goalie. When he gets pulled, he's usually very good the next game out. So I definitely am interested in the Flames here. Binnington in net for the Blues. And keep in mind all the injuries that are still plaguing St. Louis. Decimated on the blue line. I mean, Perunovic, Scandella, Torrey Krug is the huge absence on the blue line on IR. Bortuzzo is now on IR. Nick Leddy is out. I mean, that is 3 regular defensemen, especially. You're already without Krug, and now your Bortuzzo and Leddy have been regulars on this blue line, and they're now downgraded out. So this is a very, very shorthanded, ravaged blue line at the moment for the St. Louis Blues. That could be some trouble for them tonight going into this game. You look at it from a depth perspective on that blue line for St. Louis, going to be tested tonight. You're going to see a lot more Steve Santini, Tyler Tucker. Holy goodness. I mean, that is a very inexperienced third pair on the blue line tonight for the St. Louis Blues. You got Nico Mikkola is now going to move up to the top pair with Parayko, who's now clearly the one lone inexperienced defenseman they still have left. Calle Rosen, Falk as well, I should say, but Calle Rosen has actually played well lately for the Blues. He'll move up to the second pair, but that third pair that's one Calgary might be able to make hay against tonight. No pun intended. I know Daryl Sutter makes a lot of hay out there on the farm in Alberta. I just end up somehow getting into these these puns, and I'd never even think of it. Like, are you shitting me that I said make hay for a Calgary Flames game with Daryl Sutter as the coach, knowing he's got a farm out there in Alberta? I mean, that's just happenstance. That's not planned. That's not scripted. Spontaneous stuff coming from my crazy brain. But it is what it is. Yeah, I'm going to go with Calgary in regulation here with the Calgary Flames in this one, down to about even money in this game. We'll rock with that. I just think, it's going to be too much to overcome here for the St. Louis Blues in this one. And keep in mind, too, it's been kind of disappointing about the Blues is their home record. They're actually not a bad road team, 13-11. They're 7-10 at home. So here in their home building, they have not been very good this year, the St. Louis Blues. And it wouldn't shock me if that trend continues here tonight. All right, next up here, we got 2 games left on this Tuesday card. San Jose Sharks, Arizona Coyotes. We've got San Jose minus 140. Road favorites in this game. Sizable road favorites here for San Jose. And the total currently 6.5, pretty much across the board in this one. I like Arizona. I'm going back to the well. I've maybe become prisoner of becoming too much betting involvement for this team, but I do like them tonight at home against Pittsburgh, or against San Jose. They lost against Pittsburgh in their last home game, which has been more of a anomaly, that performance on home ice, because still for the majority of their games recently here at Mullet Arena, this team has played very well. No question about that. Look, they ran into a Pittsburgh team that, finally put their foot down and said, that's enough. We're not going to keep this losing streak going. And the Penguins took care of business with that 4-1 win over the Coyotes. 5 straight, that's 5 straight losses now for Arizona with that loss. But the other 4 losses were all on that road trip against Chicago, Philly, Florida, and Tampa. So keep in mind that this team is still 3-1 in their last 4 home games, and they've beaten quality teams here at Mullet Arena. They beat Toronto at home. They beat Colorado at home. They beat LA at home. They lost in overtime to Montreal. They were played Buffalo pretty tough at home. They had wins against the Bruins and the Islanders at home when they first got back to Mullet Arena following that month-long journey on the road. So no question about it. I think the Coyotes bring it strong here tonight. The one thing that I was pissed beyond belief about is that I didn't split it up like I normally have been doing with Arizona at home. More often than not, I've been taking the first period money line and the full game money line. I just only went full game money line against Pittsburgh, and I actually paid the price for it, because if I had gone the split route again, I actually would have cashed with Arizona in the first period against Pittsburgh, because they led that game 1-0 after the first period. So that's what I'm going to do here. Back to the split between the first period and the full game money line here with Arizona. First period money lines around plus 110, and full game money line around plus 120 to plus 125 here with the Arizona Coyotes. Bounce back spot for them. Home ice has still been pretty solid for them more often than not lately. And as for the San Jose Sharks, I mean, they continue to just struggle for the most part. 2-8 their last 10 games, back-to-back losses against Anaheim and Boston in their last 2 games. In fact, they're only 1-5 in their last 6 games, and the only victory was against Chicago. So it really has been a big-time struggle here for the San Jose Sharks, and defending continues to be a problem for San Jose. Other than that win against Chicago, they've not kept the puck out of the net. Since the Christmas break, 6 goals to Vancouver, 4 goals allowed to Philly, 5 to Dallas, 5 to Anaheim, 4 to Boston. Only that Chicago win was the only one since the Christmas break where the San Jose Sharks have held their opponent to below 4 goals. So definitely the defensive end of the ice has been a clear issue and problem for the San Jose Sharks here as of late. So, yeah, I have no doubt, like, Alex is actually going to send me his card, and we're going to post it on the Patreon page. Alex B. Smith will be back on Thursday later this week. I'm sure this first period over is on his card. I would be shocked if the first period over is not part of Alex's NHL card tonight in this game. I think he will definitely be looking at that as a bet in this one. And I like the over a little bit as well. The full game over, in this game. 6.5 here, shaded to the under. Been talking about these Shark games going over the total. Just 8-0-1. Yeah, 8-0-1 to the over in the last 9 games for the San Jose Sharks. And if you actually look at series history, Coyotes versus Sharks, 6-1 1-1 to the over in the last 8 head-to-head meetings between these two teams. So Arizona first period money line and full game money line split for me, and also over 6.5 here with Sharks and Coyotes. Just quickly on some props, Barabanov, I've been talking about him for San Jose, probably worth a look. He's on the top power play unit now, a little undervalued, no question about that. And getting more ice time, top line role. As far as the Coyotes are concerned, Nick Bukestad's been stepping up. Dylan Guenther, by the way, back with the Coyotes now, back with Arizona. Second game back. He returned against Pittsburgh, but I think undervalued too, because this guy had 11 points before he joined Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championship. So a couple of good prop looks for the Coyotes as well in this game. I think someone else I would look potentially towards here, Jack McBain's actually at home been a little bit better offensively lately. They've moved Nick Schmaltz down to the third line, which is pretty weird because he's been so consistent offensively, but I still think Nick Schmaltz is always worth a consideration right now with the Arizona Coyotes with their player props. So a good game maybe to sprinkle on some props there. All right, last game of this Tuesday card. It is the Florida Panthers taking on the Colorado Avalanche. We've got Colorado minus 130 home favorites. The total in this game currently 6, shaded to the over in this game. What's absolutely hilarious about this matchup is that these two teams were battling each other for the President's Trophy last season, a President's Trophy that ended up being won by the Florida Panthers, of course. And now neither of these teams as of today are in a playoff spot. Think about that. Both of these teams neck and neck, battling all season for the President's Trophy last year. Two of the best teams in the NHL during the regular season a year ago. Spectacular regular seasons, both of them. And as of January 10th, 2023, this season, neither one is in a playoff spot. Just incredible how different this season has been for both teams. Now, for Florida, the issue has been this team sucks right now. I think that's been look, they have had some injuries, but I'm not excusing Florida for what they've gone through. They have not been good. They have not been consistent, and they continue to be that way. For the most part, 18-23 on the season, 8-14 on the road. That is a bad road record for the Florida Panthers. 5-1 loss to Dallas in their last game on Sunday afternoon. Since the Christmas break, they are only 3-3, and the 3 wins, really none of them are impressive at all. They beat the Laval Rocket Blue Line, known as the Montreal Canadiens, 7-2. First game back from the Christmas break when they were talking all that junk about playoff start now for us. And yeah, it looked that way that night that they meant business. But maybe you didn't mean business. Maybe you just took advantage of a team that can't defend, which we've seen repeatedly from the Montreal Canadiens since the Christmas break. Well, then you follow that up. Yeah, you're talking all that smack, talking all that mumbo jumbo, that garbage that the playoffs start now for you, coming out of the Christmas break. And what did you do after that Montreal game? Well, you played someone good finally is what happened, and you got shut out 4-0. And then you played someone good again, the New York Rangers, and what happened? You lost 5-3. So you're 1-2 coming out of the Christmas break in your first 3 games, talking that, flapping your gums, talking about playoff start now for us. Now it's time to step up. That's number 1. And then number 2, you got 2 wins next up against Arizona and Detroit. Arizona, obviously not the same team on the road, and you took care of business against them. Big whoop-de-doo. And then Detroit, when you played the Red Wings, they're reeling. They're on a little bit of a funk right now. So those were the 2 wins, and then they go back to playing someone good again on the road, the Dallas Stars, and they get thumped 5-1. So the Florida Panthers, the point of all this is they have not had one impressive victory since the Christmas break, since they made this big vow that the playoffs start now for us. Now we mean business. Now we've got to go on a run. You have not had one win that's impressing me. Not one. Montreal with a patchwork blue line does not impress me. Arizona, bad on the road, does not impress me. Detroit, and you caught them struggling when you played them. That does not impress me. You played the good teams since the Christmas break. Dallas got thumped. Carolina got thumped. Rangers, you lost. That's the point here. Florida hasn't beaten anybody good since the Christmas break. The argument you can make now is Colorado good right now because they haven't looked good. They haven't played well. They lost 5 in a row. But man, if there's ever a time to maybe buy low, buy some stock, buy in, it's maybe after that win against Edmonton, where they're up, their backs are against the wall. They're down 2-0. They're taking penalties left and right. Edmonton's power play early in that game is making them pay for it. And it looks like they're on their way to a 6th straight loss. But then some absolute incredible, refusing to lose performances from both Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar in that third period brought them back from a 2-0 deficit. They tied it up 2-2. Makar with a great end-to-end rush in overtime with the game-winning goal, and they end up coming back to beat Edmonton 3-2. That, to me, when I look at it, is a buy sign on Colorado. That this team, that we know they're the defending champs, we know that they have work to do, and they're saying the same shit now that Florida said right after the Christmas break. And Bednar's talked about it, McKinnon's talked about it. Our playoffs, we got to go on a run now. It's no good if we come back and we beat Edmonton and we go back into the tank again. And I think with Florida, yeah, they've had some injuries. I think it's just more they're not very good right now. They're not a very good hockey team right now. They don't get a save from Bobrovsky, or even Spencer Knight deserves blame. He didn't play great against Dallas either. He's got to step it up too, but they haven't gotten a save. Their defensive game has been a mess this season. I chalk up more of Colorado's recent struggles to injuries. Like, they've been beaten up to shit the last several weeks. McKinnon missed time. They had Big Val Nichushkin out. He came back and he's out again. Josh Manson's still on the IR. They had Eric Johnson out for a bit. Yeah, like I said, Manson's still on IR. They have had a ton of injuries here, Colorado, to deal with the last few weeks. I think their struggles are way more excusable and injury-related than Florida's. That's the way I see this. And to me, I like Colorado here, minus 130. It's time for them maybe to put a run together, talking the talk. Florida, it's not like Florida on the road. We trust them, 8-14. You look at the recent road games for the Florida Panthers, 5-1 loss to Dallas, good team, 4-0 loss to Carolina, a good team, 5-1 loss to the Islanders, 7-3 loss to Boston. They don't beat good teams on the road. That's what we're finding out about the Florida Panthers. They do not beat good teams on the road. I still think Colorado's a good team. I do. I know they've gone through the abyss here, some struggles. I think they pulled themselves out of it. That was a huge confidence builder, to snap the skid, break the skid, get off the schneid against Edmonton, to come back from down 0-2 in that game, force overtime, and then win 3-2. I think that's a big boost for the Avalanche, and I think that momentum rolls in to tonight as they host the Florida Panthers. So Colorado minus 130 for me in this one. As far as props go in this game, you look at it. As far as Colorado goes, I still think Compher is undervalued. We've talked about him for a while. He's gone down the lineup. I think actually right now, Rantanen, I think actually, he's been really good lately. And now that they've got McKinnon starting to shake off the rust of returning from that injury, he might go on a little bit of a torrid run. I mean, it's like Nathan MacKinnon basically went from first gear to fifth gear in the third period against Edmonton. He just, all of a sudden, he looked like a man possessed. He took his game to another level, which is very capable of. But when he gets into that kind of groove, it can be dangerous for the opponent. So McKinnon props might be worth a look here tonight. And again, this Florida team is just not defending, especially when they play good teams. Like, they've also given up goals to good teams. You look at the Dallas game, they give up 5 goals. They give up 4 to Carolina. They give up 5 to the Islanders, 7 to Boston. I mean, they're just not keeping the puck out of their own net, especially when they play on the road, especially when they play good teams. I might even add Colorado team total over 3.5. I mean, that's a plus money price tonight on that. So I'll probably do a split bet here with this Colorado side, because I really do like the Avs here in this game tonight. But I think I want to get in on the team total at a plus 112 at Pinnacle for over 3.5 team total. Colorado. I just rhymed off the recent results for Florida on the road against quality competition. 5 goals allowed to Dallas, 4 goals allowed to Carolina, 5 goals allowed to the Islanders, 7 goals allowed to Boston. They have been giving up 4+ to every good team on the road that they have played lately. So I think Colorado can get to 4 goals here tonight. Over 3.5 plus 112 is a great price, great number either way. And I also like Colorado money line here, minus 130 tonight at home. All right, great stuff. That is the Tuesday NHL card. Massive slate, 10 games. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. I don't mind doing the solo shows. Don't cry for me, Argentina, if you will. Don't have pity for me. I love doing the shows on my own. It's a lot of fun, although I like them more when, Alex is with me. I do. But I never mind doing the show solo. We will not be alone tomorrow. Matt Wright will join us on the show tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. He made his Ice Guys debut a couple weeks ago. Did a great job. We're getting him back on the show tomorrow. We'll ask him how it was attending the World Junior Hockey Championship in Halifax. He went to a bunch of the games in Halifax at the World Junior Hockey Championship. So that will be a lot of fun. We'll ask him what he thought of seeing Connor Bedard and the absolute wizardry and domination he inflicted on that tournament, seeing that live and in person. So we'll get Matt Wright's thoughts on that tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Best bets to wrap up the show in a second. Reminder, patreon.com/Ice Guys. It's just $10 per month. It's got the daily Ice Guys show betting card. Plays from me, Alex, every single day posted on the Patreon page. As well, we've got goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, and more bonus content as well. We did Jay Rosehill video content months ago. We're going to have Jordan Kristanovich on Thursday. We're going to be doing some bonus video content for the Patreon Ice Guys page with him as well. So tons of incentives to sign up at patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month. Best bet to wrap up the show coming right up right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, our good friends at Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, courtesy of the Ice Guys. Get 20% off of any purchase and free worldwide shipping with the promo code Ice Guys. That's promo code Ice Guys, all one word, ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 400 million balls that you can help preserve with manscaped.com using the promo code Ice Guys. You get the Performance Package 4.0. It is a game changer. The Lawnmower 4.0. It takes care of this, among other things. It'll keep you trim as can be. The Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof. Same thing with the Weed Whacker, which takes care of your ear hair, nose hair. I mean, nose hair in particular. I'm getting up there in age, and nose hair is becoming definitely more of an issue. This will take care of it. It feels like someone's tickling the inside of your nostrils sometimes. It pisses the hell out of me. It bothers me. I need to take care of that shit. This will take care of it for you. The Weed Whacker makes part of the package that you get with your Manscaped purchase, and the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. You also get the ball toner. You also get the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good and looking good and feeling good down in the nether regions. This package is really going to make you feel good and look good and look better, slim, trim. That's what it's all about, and manscaped.com can help you out with that. So make sure you take advantage of this. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code IceGuys at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the promo code IceGuys. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, we're back here on the Ice Guys, and it is time for Best Bet to wrap up this Tuesday edition of the show. And we're going to go to the last game we just talked about. You could tell, you probably could sense in my voice that I like this side quite a bit. We're taking the Colorado Avalanche. Minus 125 is actually still out there with them right now at DraftKings. I think it's now time to buy in on Colorado. They've gone through their tough times. They've survived, the majority of their injuries. They've still got a few, but they're getting much healthier, and that was a big-time confidence boost to come back, beat Edmonton, snap the losing streak, and I think it's momentum that carries through to tonight against this struggling reeling Florida team that just cannot beat anybody good. I'm sorry, you're not playing the Laval Rocket Montreal Canadiens defense tonight. You're not playing the Arizona Coyotes tonight. No, you're playing a hockey team that I think has their best hockey still in front of them here tonight in this game and moving forward. Colorado's gone through their little rough patch. This is a better team than their record shows. Once they get healthy, look out. They know that they can't mess around. They've got to start putting wins on the board because the Western Conference is going to be a beast to make the playoffs this year. Can't leave anything for chance. Colorado builds off the comeback against Edmonton and gets it done tonight. -125. Colorado Avalanche. That's going to be my best bet here for this Tuesday NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Wednesday. Myself and Matthew Wright will be with you for the Wednesday edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.